Hi, my love. This is gonna be a little story time about losing my dad and some of the crazy experiences I had in the months after. My dad passed away unexpectedly in March of 2017. And months later, I was meeting with someone whose mother had recently passed away as well. She recommended that I go visit this spiritual therapist thing. Like, it was weird. I don't even know what it's called. But she was like massaging my feet or touching these pressure points on my feet. And based on that, she was able to tell me about like some of the trauma I was experiencing. And all I know is I was just crying and releasing so much. She was able to unlock for me that I wasn't just grieving my mother, but that I was terrified of also getting Alzheimer's and passing away in the way that my mother did. And I feel so much lighter now. So I was a little bit skeptical because I wasn't really into any of that stuff at the time, nor did I even understand what this thing was. I'm like, what do you mean to tell me that she just gives you a foot massage and then you start crying and then like you feel better? Like, that's weird, but okay. The worst thing that could happen is I get a foot massage. So I hit the lady up. She was in our area and I end up going to her house. It was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I remember like she like greeted me with her dog at the door and she had a very spiritual vibe. She was a little bit older and I felt like she was observing me, but that might have just been because I had my guard up. Cause I'm like, if you think that you're about to do some psychic stuff, let me just tell you right now that like I'm not gonna make it easy for you. Like, that was the vibe that I walked in with. I go upstairs and then we go into this like small room where there's like the massage bed thing, and then one wall is this bookshelf with all these books about like Eastern philosophies. There was one book with like a shape of a foot with like the different pressure points on the foot. So I'm like, okay, she's well studied, but I'm not gonna make it easy for her and I'm not gonna tell her anything because she's not about to play me. Like, that was the energy that I had. So sure enough, I get onto this little massage table and she's like telling me that she can feel the pressure points on my foot and there's two ways we can go about it. She's like, I can either just tell you where you're holding pressure or stress in your body, or we could take it a step further and I can tell you based on the pressure points in your foot what you might be experiencing in your life. But if you're not comfortable with that, we don't have to do that. I'm like, no, it's no problem. We could do that. So basically she starts feeling my feet. And apparently on my left foot, I was holding more like tension or like moisture in my left foot. And she's like, that means that you carry a lot of stress in your shoulders. Like, she started saying that and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's spot on, because like my shoulders are always bothering me. I always carry stress in my shoulders. She's like, and you know, if you would like, I can tell you what that means in your life. Like, is there something, she's like, is there something you're particularly stressed about right now? So I just completely like downplayed it and didn't give her the full answer. And I was just like, yeah, you know, I'm studying for my GMAT, trying to get the math score up. Like, that's what's most stressing me out right now. Not that my dad just died like 2 months ago. Like, I didn't tell her that at all. And so then I was like, I'm studying for my GMAT, stress, blah, blah, blah. She just didn't seem satisfied with my answer, but I'm like, whatever, I'm still not gonna give it to her. So then she's like, well, I'm noticing that there's a lot more tension in your left foot than your right foot. And typically what that means is the loss of a strong male presence in your life. When she said that, when I tell you, I was so taken aback that I just started crying uncontrollably. And the weirder part about that is she was acting like it was completely normal. Like, she was moving all this like energy around my body. Like, it was very weird and very interesting and I still have no idea what the hell happened. But all I know is those words, they kind of like hit me like a dagger. And like I said, thank you. We finished our session. I was thrown off. I'm like, I don't know what type of stuff you have going on in here, but this is crazy. I don't know if I was fully ready for that. I get in the car, I'm on this 45-minute drive home, just crying uncontrollably. And I kept asking myself, like, what made you cry? Like, it was like a valve just got opened and you just were crying uncontrollably. What is, you know, your dad died. She didn't tell you anything you don't know. And then when I reviewed the language that she used, you're grieving the loss of a strong male presence in your life. That just completely changed the way I looked at my grief. Because sure, I knew I lost my dad, but what I had lost was so much more than just my dad. I lost this feeling of being protected. I didn't feel that with other men in my life. No shade to any of them. They just didn't give me the feeling that my dad gave me. After my dad died, I started having these dreams that people were breaking into our home and trying to kidnap us or whatever. And like, I remember at the time I was super activist-y and stuff, and I'm like, well, this is so misogynistic. Like, you think your dad needs to protect you from people breaking into your house, like you can. And I'm like, girl, shut up, you're grieving right now. Like, this is not the time to like sit and question society and whether this is a male-dominated society and blah blah blah. Like, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Like, you felt very protected by your dad. You felt that his presence as a strong male figure in your life clearly gave you this real or imagined sense of safety, but it doesn't really matter because you don't feel safe anymore. And that's what this is trying to show you. Whether you agree with it or not, this is how you feel. Like, traumatically in your body, physiologically or whatever, you feel unsafe. You feel emotionally exposed. You feel physically exposed. Like, there were all of these feelings that the way that she phrased it, it just brought out all these feelings that I wasn't realizing I was even having. And that has stuck with me ever since, because I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot. This is the only man that I've ever trusted to the degree that I trusted him. Once again, I have amazing men in my life. This is no shade to them. It is a testament to how my dad made me feel that no one else was able to make me feel. And it was that day that I had really, really solidified that I was not going to be dating anytime soon, because I knew that there was this gaping wound that his death had left me with. And I was very scared to try to put that on someone else, because I'm like, nobody's gonna fill these shoes ever again in my life. Like, I shouldn't be expecting anyone to fill these shoes because nobody else is my dad. It's not fair to expect my future husband to fill these shoes because my future husband didn't give birth to me. Like, this is one of two people who took part in creating me. Like, the way that he was going to make me feel was like unlike any other man had the potential to make me feel. So I focused on just really trying to heal. And I'm bringing this to you right now because I think I overcorrected. I am now in a happy marriage of going on 4 years at this point, and I'm obsessed with my husband. I'm very proud of the kind of man that I attracted into my life. But I feel like I really overcorrected for the first couple years of our relationship, where in my effort to not try to expect any man to fill my dad's shoes, I think I felt uncomfortable letting any man hold my emotions with me. So for the first couple of years of my relationship, I know a lot of you come on here and talk about how much you love how vulnerable I am, but I actually wasn't vulnerable with him in the first couple of years. Sure, I told him a lot of things, but that's not my definition of vulnerability. Like, I'll come on here and tell you guys all my life story because I don't feel any shame in that, and I don't feel like I need to protect myself from you knowing things about me. But my vulnerability exists when I feel I need to ask for help. When I feel that I can't handle the way that I'm feeling and I'm drowning in grief or stress or sadness, and I want someone to help carry some of that with me, to me, that's vulnerability. And it was so hard for me to do that. That is the definition to me of vulnerability, is expecting someone to help carry this weight with you. And I wasn't really able to do that with Ahmed until maybe a year ago, and I'm still doing it. And the other day, it just dawned on me where I'm like, you overcorrected. You knew that your dad carried things that you didn't even realize he was carrying until he died, and they just all fell on you. And so in your effort to carry that alone and not try to like throw that on whoever came knocking on your door, because I was scared of that. I was truly scared of feeling like I'm carrying so much on my own that I'm just gonna settle for anyone who comes knocking on my door because I want that feeling again. I want that masculine presence. But I'm like, no, girl, do not settle. You had an amazing dad. You had a dad that will be literally impossible to replace. And do not try to settle with a low or average quality man because you feel like you need to delegate some of this right now. It's okay. Depend on the people in your family, depend on your mom, depend on your siblings a little bit, as much as you feel comfortable, and carry more than you're supposed to carry for the time being. It's okay. It's going to be worth it, because when you meet the right person, you will feel comfortable, sharing some of that. And the truth is, I didn't. And it's not because he didn't make me feel comfortable, but I think that I just got so used to taking care of certain things on my own that even when he wanted me to let him in, or even when he gave me all the signs of wanting to take care of me emotionally, I felt like it was wrong or out of place until I reached a point where I just couldn't anymore. And I was so scared to surrender some of that. But then when I did, he completely held it for me. And I'm like, you mean to tell me, girl, you could have been having him help you with this all along and you just chose not to? And the answer is yes. I could have been more vulnerable all along, but I needed to feel safe to do so. And even though he made me feel safe, I still needed to get to that place where I truly felt safe to do so. And now that I'm at that place, it just feels so much more light and beautiful and amazing. And I just feel more clear, like mentally clear. And I feel so grateful for the man that I have, but I also feel so grateful for the version of myself that was wise enough to sit back and understand what she was going through and understand that this loss of this male presence in her life is not ever going to be replaced by anyone else. I actually think I set my relationship up for so much success by not expecting Ahmed to fill the shoes that were never designed for him to fill. And now it's just the process of figuring out what shoes I want him to fill and creating the kind of foundation that stands the test of time. I really hope that this somehow resonates with you. I know it's a very specific experience, but I'm just proud of the fact that I've been giving myself grace to figure it all out, because this for me is very uncharted territory. I am also the oldest daughter, and I feel like a lot of it I was figuring out on my own, because the way that I experienced my dad's loss is going to be completely different than how my older brothers experienced it. I'm sure they're dealing with their own reactions to losing a man in their life who they revered and respected so much. But I do think that my experience as his oldest daughter, who he babied and took care of and always knew how to solve whatever problem I was going through, I think that that experience is very unique in its own way as well. Let me know what this brought up for you or any questions that you have about this. I love you so much. And as always, stay powerful, my love.